Hello everyone, I'm Ed Green, and today I'm going to talk to you about notifications and specifically app settings, which lets you control notifications from individual apps. So I am in my notification settings now, and the option we are looking for is
App settings. Control notifications from individual apps.
So I'm going to double tap.
Settings. App notifications. Out of list. Navigate up. Button. Search.
So the first option is you can search for an individual app whose notifications you want to configure or change. Before you do that, though, you should pay attention to the next control on this screen, which is
More options. Button.
Sorry, actually not the next control. The second control along from the search field, which is
Drop-down menu. Most recent.
So at the minute, you have it set to most recent. That'll be default. So if we carry on swiping right, we would get into the list of apps which had sent notifications recently. Next to each of those is a toggle switch to turn notifications for that app on or off. I'm just going to double tap on here, though, and show you what else we have.
Pop-up window. Most recent. And list. Most frequent.
If you want to see which apps send you notifications most frequently and sort your list that way, perhaps you want to configure that, but it hasn't sent you one for a little while, you would choose this.
All apps.
All apps is pretty self-explanatory, and the next option is also quite helpful, which is
Apps. Turned off.
apps turned off. So obviously those apps won't be on the screens which show you either your most recent or most frequent notifications because they're not sending you any notifications, they're turned off. So if you wanted to sort your list that way, you would do that. And this matters because how this control is set affects the search function. So I, for instance, don't have Facebook set to send me any notifications. So if I set the search either to most recent or most frequent and set this control to most recent or most frequent, then search for Facebook, it's not going to come up because Facebook isn't sending me any apps, any notifications. So I would instead need to either set it to all apps or all apps, or also apps turned off. I'm going to back out of this control.
Navigation bar. Back. But settings. Drop-down menu. Most recent.
Now, let's have a look at what sort of apps send me notifications, and I'm going to pick on two of them I want to show you.
Google Play Services. 4 minutes ago. And list. On. Switch.
If I were to double tap there, it would turn off, as I said earlier, notifications for Google Play Services. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to leave it.
Messenger. 7 minutes ago.
I do want to show you Messenger, though. So I'm going to double tap.
Settings. Messenger. Out of list. Navigate up. Button. Messenger. And list. All messenger notifications. On. Switch.
So if I were to turn this, it is just a switch. There's no screen hidden behind it, as TalkBack indicated, just by saying switch. So if I were to do this, it would literally turn everything off for Messenger. That's not what I want.
Conversations. Heading. Bubbles. Nothing can bubble.
I don't want my conversations to bubble, so I'm happy with that setting. Were we to explore it, though, let's see what we've got.
Bubbles. Navigate up. Messenger and list. Button. All conversations can bubble. Button. Selected conversations can bubble. Selected. Button. Nothing can bubble.
Pretty self-explanatory. If I were to select selected conversations, it would no doubt prompt me to select some conversations which I were happy to bubble. I don't want to do that.
Navigation bar. Back. Settings. Bubbles. Nothing can bubble. Notifications. Heading. Show notifications. On. Switch.
We want it to show notifications.
Chats. Tilde 2 notifications per day. On. Chats. Switch.
So now we're in the different types of notifications that Messenger sends. And I'm going to show you what's on the screen and then we'll come back. And I'll explain why I don't really like this setup.
Calls. On. Calls. Switch. Admin. On. Admin. Switch. Stories. On. Stories. Switch.
So I'm not going to go through all of them. I'm going to go back up to chats and we'll see what we can configure. And you'll quickly see an issue, I think.
Chats. Tilde 2. Settings. Chats. Out of list.
So we're now in the chat.
Navigate up. But chats. Messenger show notifications. On. Switch.
We do want it to show them.
Selected. Button. Default. May ring or vibrate based on phone settings. Button. Silent.
The three channels that you might have are silent, default, and priority. They basically govern the level of interruptibility that a notification can provide to the user. So a silent notification isn't going to do anything. It's not going to make a tone. It's not going to vibrate. It will pop up in the notification shade, and it might do some other things depending on what you set your silent notifications to do. Default, governed obviously by your default settings, but it will probably ring. It will probably vibrate. It will take up a place in the notification shade. Priority will go to the top of your notification shade, regardless of when it came in. So if you have a priority notification and then a whole bunch of other things come in that are defaults, that priority one is going to stay at the top. Priority is also going to interrupt things like do not disturb, probably, unless you've configured it differently.
Sound, app provided sound.
So this is the reason I don't like how notifications are distributed in these settings. You'll notice that we had a setting for messages, we had calls, we had admin. So if you wanted to change the default notification sound for an app to something more distinctive, Messenger has its own distinctive ping anyway, or pudding almost for messages, you can't do it without changing every single different category of notification in the settings. It's quite annoying. You probably actually wouldn't want to with Messenger because you can receive phone calls, but let's say you didn't find Facebook's notifications annoying and you wanted Facebook to have a different sound to say messages, but you wanted all notifications for Facebook to have the same sound. You are going to have to configure every single notification type that Facebook can send you, and believe me, it's a lot. So quite why you can't configure an app's notification sound globally, I don't know. It's really annoying. You should be able to. So we've heard sound. We could go in and change this. I'll show you what the sound settings look like.
Complete action using sounds. Just once, button, out of list. Sounds. Sound. Default notification sound. Heading and list. None. Heading. Aldebaran. Alter. Alia. Antares. Antimony. Arcturus.
So various different things that my phone is providing me as notification sounds. So I could change Messenger's notification sound. I don't really want to, so I'm going to back out.
Navigation bar. Back. Button, out of list. Settings. Sound. App provided sound. And list. Vibration. On. Switch.
I do want it to vibrate. I'll leave that.
Lock screen. Show sensitive content only when unlocked. Blink light. On. Switch.
The sensitive content when unlocked is what I want. I have that set across all my apps. I have it set globally. You can, though, configure that on an app-by-app basis, as you'll see here.
Show notification dot. On. Switch. Interrupts in priority only. Let these notifications continue to interrupt when do not disturb is on. Off. Switch. Additional settings in the app.
And that's it. That's it for Messenger. I'm going to back out of here.
Navigation bar. Back. Button. Out of list. Settings. Chats. ~2 notifications per day. And list.
And the rest of this screen is just different notifications that Messenger can send you. We've already looked at some of these. I'm going to show you one more, and we're going to take a little tangential diversion out of notification settings for part of this, because it's not easy to do what you might want to do in this next app from notification settings. But I'll show you its settings first.
Navigation bar. Back. Button. Settings. Messages. 37 minutes ago.
Messages is the one I want. Google Messages. Here we are. I'm going to double tap.
Settings. Messages. Out of list.
And what I want to show you, and that you can't really do from here, but is to how you change the notification sound for an individual conversation. You might be forgiven for thinking that you should be able to do it from here, but you can't do it at least reliably. So I'll just show you this screen. It's very similar to Messengers.
Navigate up. Button. Messages. And list. All messages notifications. On. Switch. Conversations. Heading.
So here, it's picked a couple of conversations that are possibly the most frequent. There aren't many listed here. So we could probably do what we wanted to for the conversations listed, but in order to change a notification for a conversation that's not listed in this next bit, you need to go to the Messages app. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to come out of the settings.
Messages.
There we are. I'm going to go into Messages.
Messages. Search places. Edit. Navigate up. Button. Start chat. More options. But unread from Dad. Dad. Text. O2. Edit box. Out of list
I've opened a conversation from my dad. And what I want to do is to change the default notification sound, or at least to show you how you might do that. So I'm going to go into more options.
More conversation options. Button.
More conversation options in this case. Here we go.
Pop-up window. Details and list.
And details is what we want.
Details. Navigate up. Button. Details. Options and list. Notifications. App settings. Notifications.
Notifications is what we want.
Settings. Dad. Out of list. Navigate up. Button. Dad. Messages. Button. Priority. Selected. Button. Default. May. Button. Silent. Pop on screen. When device is unlocked. Show notifications as a banner across the top of the screen. On. Switch. Sound. Default notification sound.
So here is where I would change it. I've shown you that screen already. So if you want a conversation to have a different notification to the default, this is what you do. You go into the Messages app, you open that conversation, you hit More Conversation Options, which is the typical top right located button, usually called More Options. Choose Details, choose Notifications, and choose Notification Sound. That, folks, is a brief tour through this section of notification settings.